Okay, let's say you were pulled over by a police officer in the state of California and they issued you a citation. So now you probably have a number of questions like, am I going to have to go to court for this? Oh my God, am I going to jail? Or perhaps you take the laid back approach and you say, it's just a ticket. It's not that serious, right? Well, the best way to analyze this situation is to not focus on the fact that you received a ticket, but to figure out what type of charges you are actually facing. The reason for this is that signing the citation is simply a promise to show up in court on a specific date and time. You see, the ticket does not control what type of charges you will be facing, and the ticket does not control what is going to happen with your case. So the mere fact that you just got a ticket doesn't mean things aren't serious. In fact, you can get a ticket for any level of offense in California, starting at infractions, through misdemeanors, up to felonies. So you could get a ticket for something small like a non-moving traffic violation, which is an infraction which is only punishable by a fine. Perhaps it's a more complicated traffic matter which could affect your driving record. It could be a misdemeanor, which could lead to probation or county jail time, or it could be something as serious as a felony, which could send you to state prison. Again, the most important issue is not whether or not they took you to jail or just gave you a ticket. The most important issue is what kind of charges are you dealing with? The arrest or release on your own recognizance with a ticket is a completely separate issue from what will happen when you are prosecuted for the underlying charges in court. The issuing of a ticket is simply a promise to appear in court. Think of it as an official notice of sorts. The notice does not control the outcome of the case, it simply notifies you that the case has begun. A common example of how things can get pretty serious on just a ticket would be cite releases on existing warrants throughout Southern California. The jail system in counties such as Los Angeles, San Bernardino, and Riverside are so overwhelmed with inmates that officers will typically cite release people they encounter with arrest warrants in these counties. So an officer might inform you that you have a warrant for $10,000, $50,000, maybe even $100,000, and you will definitely be thinking, oh God, I'm going to jail. Then the next thing you know, the police officer is writing you a ticket and letting you go. Now, that doesn't mean that the warrant is gone by any means. It's still there. And it doesn't mean that you won't face serious penalties from the violation that triggered the warrant in the first place. What it means is that the police officer was too busy to take you downtown and book you, or the jail has a policy for citing out people for these types of warrants due to overcrowding in the jail. Now, if you ignore the citation and your court date comes and you're not there, the court will issue an even larger warrant than the original warrant, and your penalty will be increased due to the additional failure to appear. Now, it's entirely possible that you will still get remanded into custody immediately upon your arrival to the courtroom, and you'll have to face a trial, a probation violation hearing, or sentencing. So the lesson here is if you were cite released on a warrant, it is not just a ticket. You need to contact a lawyer immediately to figure out how to fix it and minimize the damage. However, there are times when a ticket seems like it's going to be very serious and it ends up working out just fine. The most common example are traffic offenses, which can be charged as misdemeanors and infractions, such as driving under a suspended license under Vehicle Code Section 14601, driving without a license under Vehicle Code Section 12500, failure to appear under Vehicle Code Section 40508 subsection A, failing to pay under Vehicle Code Section 40508 subsection B, and various other mid-level traffic offenses and commercial vehicle offenses. In these types of cases, people frequently panic when the police officer marks the misdemeanor box on the ticket, inducing fear of going to prison or being deported. Well, for starters, you can't go to prison on a misdemeanor. A misdemeanor, by definition, is a crime that is punishable only by confinement in county jail. Second, most of these cases are routinely processed as infractions, meaning there's no jail time and it's punishable by a fine, even though the police officer marked the misdemeanor box on the ticket. But beware, this is not a hard and fast rule. The real tricky part here is that each court has its own internal policies on how they deal with such things. So in some courts, driving without a license isn't such a big deal even though the police officer checked the misdemeanor box on the ticket. So if you go to one of these courts, the worst that can happen is that you'll have to pay a fine. That's it. There won't be any jail time. In other courts, however, you could have a ticket for driving without a license that's listed as an infraction on the ticket, but when you show up to court, it gets charged as a misdemeanor and you get taken into custody. Perhaps the worst scenario for someone in this type of situation is somebody who has immigration problems, and they show up to court thinking that they're only going to pay a fine, only to find out that they get remanded into custody, that they're going to face removal proceedings in immigration court, which lead to deportation. So if you take anything away from this video, it should be this. What is on your ticket does not control the outcome of your case. The outcome is governed by how your case is prosecuted in court. So if you received a ticket and you're not sure whether the situation is serious or not, give me a call or send me an email and I'll give you a free consultation and I'll let you know whether your situation is something simple that you can handle on your own or if it's something more serious that you should consider retaining an attorney to handle.